Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining us today for this grand event and launch of Lincoln University. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us today. My name is Ikena, and I am the regional head for Africa for MSM Global Marketing Office. I'm here with the Lincoln University International representatives, Julian and Anne, as well as some other of my colleagues at MSM. Welcome, Julian and Anne.
Yeah, well,
How are you guys doing
it's great
today?
to be here. We're good. We're good. Would you
Perfect.
like me to get started?
Perhaps we'll just wait for another 5 minutes or so just to get everybody, sorted out with the
Sure.
tech and joining us so that we could be able to get everyone together.
Great.
Um,
Yep.
but before then, maybe we should just learn a little bit about you, Julian, and perhaps Anne, so that we could just get the icebreakers before we start the presentation.
Sure. Well, I'm happy to start. Just kick it off, and I'll pass it over to Annie. Um, yeah. So, look, welcome everybody. Good morning to all. It's actually evening here in New Zealand. My name's Julian. I'm one of the national managers here at Lincoln University in the beautiful city of Christchurch in the South Island of New Zealand. Um, I've been working at Lincoln University for I think this is my 13th year, and my responsibilities are really around partnerships and student recruitment. And I manage regions in terms of Europe, the US, and also overseeing Africa at this point. I actually studied at Lincoln University for my undergraduate degree many, many years ago. So I have a good knowledge of the university and its facilities. I was actually born and bred in the city,
Wow.
so I'm a local. So this is sort of my hometown. This is my my hood, as you might say. I don't know if I say that very well, but anyway. Um, and yeah, I really love the place. I like the New Zealand and the New Zealand culture. I think we're quite friendly people. Probably at first we're a little bit shy because we're so far away from everybody. We don't always, when I was young, it was not really diverse in terms of different cultures, but it's very much so now. So maybe I'll just pass over to my colleague Annie, and maybe she could just introduce herself and get a little bit of background.
Perfect. Thanks, Julian.
Kia ora. Uh, Ni hao. My name is Annie. I am also another international manager at Lincoln Universities. So originally from Malaysia, I have actually been to Africa, but only as to Namibia, and so that's about where I've been. I did manage to get to Zimbabwe to look at what is to get to the Victorian Falls. It was just one of the most amazing experience I had. And so I hope that with Julian's help, it will give me that opportunity to return to Africa at some stage to
Good.
look at the wildlife. Yeah. Anyway, so originally from Malaysia, I came to New Zealand as an international student, probably before you were born, Ikana. So I'm
Nice.
the older. I was one of the older generations, so like the kind of international students eventually make it
Okay.
to the international sector. For me, I think my international experience in New Zealand really changed my life. It gave me that freedom that I otherwise wouldn't have,
Oh,
particularly
nice.
being financially independent. Um, so I'm really passionate about what New Zealand as a country has to offer, but also what the point of difference for the education system that can train our international students. I think one thing that Julian touched about is the informal kind of style of New Zealand. And I think coming from Malaysia, I really appreciate that lack of hierarchy challenges. So things are very transparent, and so it's easy to get stuff done. All you need is ask. And the other thing that I really like is that it is a very clean, one of the cleanest countries, I suppose, one of the least corruption countries in the world.
Nice.
So, for example, if you attempt to bribe the police, so let's say if you are speeding, get caught speeding, and the police car stop you and say, "Hey, Ikana, you're over speed limit for 20k an hour." Then you say, "Oh, sir, I forgot. Where's your driver's license?" And then you say, "Oh, I can't remember where my driver's license is. Here it is." If you attempt to put some $50 under, then you get fined. You get charged. One is speeding, forget about your driver's license, and then another attempt to bribe the police officer.
Wow.
So
that really shows that it's a very open society, good cultural heritage, and very good morals. That's really impressive. Thank you so much for the icebreakers, Gillian and Annie. And I'll hand it over to Gillian to get us started with the wonderful launch of Lincoln University. Over to you, Gillian.
Okay, no, thank you. No, look, and thanks everybody for joining us this morning. Now, I'm just going to basically give you a little bit of an overview, just touch on New Zealand, the country, Christchurch, the city, Lincoln University, and then Annie is going to then introduce our English language and pre-degree and bachelor programs. Then I'm going to touch on, which I think is probably the most important area, our postgraduate program offering. And then Annie's going to finish up on talking about some fees and scholarships and about the current COVID that we have at the moment. So if you do have any questions, put some questions in the question boxes as we go, and we'll do our best to try and answer them at the end. We're very keen to hear from you guys, any questions or anything that we may not have covered. So without further ado, I'll get started. So look, just briefly, as you can see there from the map, New Zealand is just to the southeast of Australia. You can see the two islands there, the North and South Island. We have a population of just over 5 million. We claim to be the first country in the world to see the sun rise. We're actually, I think, about nine hours or so ahead of you guys at this point, I think. We have an indigenous people called the Maori. Aotearoa is the Maori name for New Zealand, and the translation into English is the land of the long white cloud. Actually, I don't know if you guys know anything about this, that actually New Zealand was the first country to give women the vote back in 1893. We have currently, I think, around about 40 million sheep versus 5 million people. There used to actually be up to about 70 million sheep. And we have a landmass size similar to the size of the state of Colorado in the US. So we're not that big, but we're actually not that small. It's a little bit deceiving. Yeah, sorry, next, Danny. Sorry, we're going old school on changing the slides today. I don't have control. So Lincoln University, as I said, is located in the beautiful city of Christchurch. Now, Christchurch is on the east coast of the South Island of New Zealand, as you can see there on the picture. And this is actually a lovely photo, which is about a 25 minute drive out of the centre of the city of Christchurch. And it's looking down into Banks Peninsula, and further down above the roof of the car, I don't know, you can't quite see it, but it's our port of Port Lyttelton is our port, and over the hill is our city. Now, really what attracts a lot of students to the South Island and to places like Christchurch is really that the outdoors. So particularly our students from Europe and the US very much like the great outdoors in terms of hiking, in terms of mountain biking and outdoor recreation. There's an abundance on offer, and because of our smaller size, rivers, lakes and mountains and everything are all quite within reach, only within short travelling distance. So the Christchurch city is known as New Zealand's newest city. Well, that's our claim at the moment, and you can see from the photos there, it's just sort of giving you a look of the new developments that have been happening around the city. We're a population of just under, in the city of Christchurch, a population of just under 400,000. So probably by African standards, it's quite small, but we're actually the second largest city in New Zealand. Yep. And just furthermore about the Christchurch city itself. So here you can just see from the photos and some of the, Annie, if you go back one. Yeah, you can just sort of see the types of sort of outdoor recreation, which I alluded to before, is very much the attraction for a lot of students. And what I like to think is when a student's thinking about studying abroad, you've got to think about the whole lifestyle. It's not just going to study. If you're going to commit to going for 1, 2, 3 or 4 years, what type of life are you going to have in this new country, in this new city? So I think if you've got students that are interested in the outdoors, we've got great mountain bike trails within 20 minutes of the city. We've got surfing within about 20 to 30 minutes of the city as well. Rock climbing, as he said, is a 20 minutes from the city. And then again, skiing, you could be on top of the mountain to the nearest ski field from the central city within an hour and a half, drive to be skiing. And they can say that within one day it is possible to ski and surf in the city of Christchurch. Okay, any? Yeah, I think your computer's a little slow. So as you can see from the map, there is just a closer map of where the Christchurch is located, close to that peninsula. And this is just giving you an idea about the 4 seasons that we experience. And we very much have 4 distinct seasons in New Zealand and in Christchurch. And these are in degrees Celsius. So as you can see, during winter, it can range overnight down to 1 or 0 degrees and through to the day to about 11 degrees Celsius. You've got spring and summer. And actually, I will say for summer, we probably get consistently the most high-end temperatures in New Zealand. So we would get in our summer probably a week's worth of days over 30 degrees Celsius. But again, probably by your standards, that's that's nothing. But not many other cities in New Zealand can get above 30 degrees. And I would say 12 to 23 degrees for summer there is a little bit conservative. But also in New Zealand and in many cities in New Zealand, you can experience 4 seasons in one day. It is possible. So it is a bit erratic at times, sometimes the weather. But that's just to give you guys a heads up. Now, we have a number of African students on campus as well. Some of them do find, they have to acclimatise. It takes them a couple of months to acclimatise to the weather. But in the long run, I think everybody gets on quite well. So there's no real extremes. As I said before, a population in Christchurch of around 400,000. Very much is known as the gateway to the South Island. If we could move to the next one. Thanks, Annie. And I just move on to Lincoln University. Now, just to also mention that we are based on the edge of the city. So we're probably a good 25 minutes drive from the centre of the city to reach the campus. And we're based in a little place, a little township called Lincoln. Has a population of about 6,000. So it's quite friendly, it's quite intimate, and I think it's a great place to study and it's a great place to live. That's just my personal opinion. But I think you're not seen as a number. You get to know other students. You get to know academics on campus by first name basis. It's that sort of kind of close relationship that you will build over time. So we were established in 1878. We are one of 8 public universities. There are no private universities in New Zealand. Lincoln University has a student population of just over 3,000 students, so we're quite boutique, we're quite niche. And we'll talk more about the program shortly. We're talking pre-COVID here, so in 2019, 42% of our student population were international students. And there's the breakdown. So postgraduate, graduate students around 28%, undergraduate 72%. And we are presently, I think I'm not sure exactly right now, but we were at 51% female. We have a 58 hectare campus, but the university also owns 4,000 hectares of farmland across New Zealand. We're a residential campus, so we have accommodation on campus, whether it be catered, self-catered, and we can cater for up to 600 students living on campus. We can also provide Kiwi homestay option as well for students. And the level of studies that we offer here at Lincoln University, so we have an English language school, and the English language school is based in the centre of the university. We treat English language students as university students. We run foundation programs and with pathways with advanced standing into our Bachelor Degrees. We have a range of Bachelor Degrees, Masters, and PhD and doctorates. We also do online and remote learning teaching on campus as well. Yep. So I think which is an important thing, you guys don't know too much about Lincoln, but so I thought I'd talk about the international rankings because I think they are quite key to sort of put in perspective about who we are and where we stand in the world. So we go by very much the QS World University Rankings, and we have in the QS 2022 rank, we have a rank of 372 in the world. Also in the QS Small University category, which is defined as a university with less than 5,000 students, and I think this is more comparing apples with apples, we have a world ranking of 15 in the world. Now I think that's quite important, and I think that's quite an achievement for a small university like ourselves. Probably our strongest subject, we're ranked in the top 100 for agriculture in terms of subject ranking. We're a member of the Euro League of Life Sciences, which is a network of elite life science universities in Europe with 3 international partners, Cornell, Lincoln University for Australasia, and China Agriculture University for Asia. And in the QS rankings, we have 5-star status, which is the highest level for employability, facilities, internationalization, inclusiveness, teaching and research. Yep. So just some quick points about quick facts about Lincoln. We've got a 91% successful course completion. I think what you will find in that one, genuine staff interaction. So again, you're not just a number at Lincoln because of our small size. A number of our second and third year courses are small in terms of student numbers. You will get to know the academics and the lecturers in a lot of cases on a first name basis. And then sometimes our academics go that extra mile and actually invite students to their home for barbecues, things like that. So it is like, I like to think of Lincoln in terms of the sort of experience you have at Lincoln is like, it's like a second family. It's like a family away from home. We have 13 research centres, 8 farms that covers our 4,000 hectares of farmland through the country, and which I think is quite important here is that we have a 6% higher graduate employment rate, higher than any other New Zealand university. So I think really, why is that? My thinking is that the programs that we teach at Lincoln are very much aligned to the New Zealand economy and what the New Zealand economy is good at, which means we have a very strong relationship with industry and we tailor our programs to what, in terms of outcomes, to what industry is looking for graduates. So look, thank you very much for that. I'm just now going to pass you over to Annie, and she's going to continue with the presentation.
Just want to say that Julian talked about the specialist nature of Lincoln University. So as a university, we only have 3 faculties. We have Faculty of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Faculty of Agribusiness and Commerce, and also Faculty of Environment, Society, and Design. So what you can see on the screen, in New Zealand, as Julian mentioned before, we only have 8 government universities. So that's one of the specialist kind of nature of New Zealand University, is that what we offer, we do it well. So we focus on the areas that we are good at. And so because all the 8 universities are all funded by the government, and so in some way it's harder for us to kind of answer your questions if you say, oh, what's your best program? Because actually what we offer, because for us to list those programs on the screen for you, those are the subjects that we are good at. But there are some cool programs that I personally quite like. Obviously, being the oldest school of agriculture in Southern Hemisphere, our Faculty of Agriculture and Life Sciences are the oldest and the most established faculty amongst Lincoln University. So agriculture science, horticulture science, soil science, food science, and we ecology and conservation, environmental science. Those are the areas that we are really strong in. And also, if you ask what is verticulture and oenology, now verticulture is science of grapevines, and oenology is the science of winemaking. So we are the first university in New Zealand that introduced the science of winemaking in New Zealand, and we pioneer the winemaking study in the cool climate environment. The other program, what Lincoln University is really strong in is actually that whole agriculture value chain. So in our agribusiness and commerce, we are strong in agribusiness and food marketing, food and resource economics, supply chain management. And so what you could see there is that whole kind of the business components that are relevant to the whole agriculture value chain. Those are the areas that we offer. What it's kind of highlighted for you. We also have quite a specialist area, which is the property valuation and property development. And you can have focus on rural or urban property development. Last but not least is our Faculty of Environment, Society and Design. So as Julian mentioned before, we are a university that actually really matters. We care about so for us it's about sustainability and environment. How do we look after our environment? So under our Faculty of Environment Society, our students study subjects like water management, environmental policy and planning, landscape architect, sports and recreation management, and tourism management. So those are the subjects that we offer. We don't offer any other subject areas. So we also, one thing is, apart from these 3 faculties, we have a division of university studies and English language divisions. So this division, we teach English for academic purposes. So in case you meet the academic requirements, for example, for our PhD studies, but you have only achieved IELTS 6.0 academic equivalent, then but maybe your work is too busy for you to be able to prepare your IELTS exam well, you can come to New Zealand to study, come to Lincoln to study our graduate certificate in academics English, which is a 16-week study. If you pass the graduate certificate in academic English, then you do not have to do IELTS again. You will continue to study our PhD study. This, for example. And so, but we also offer our foundation programs. And so we have a certificate in university studies specifically designed for students who exited at the O-level equivalent, who wants to fast track their studies to bachelor degrees. But we also have a diploma in university studies, which is designed for students who have just done A-level equivalent, but may have just missed the university entrance. But students who have completed our diploma in university studies, they'll be able to fast track to our year 2 of bachelor degree. So what you can see here, which I mentioned before, we have in our UCL division or English language school, we have we specialize in English for academic purposes. So you can actually study EAP from Africa for now, because New Zealand borders are closed, or you could travel when the borders reopens again. You could study the EAP plus pathways, as long as we have a should I say a conditional offer for the academic studies. Right now, we also have some what we call free online trial English classes. So we'll share this information with Ikana, and then if you do have students who are interested in starting their EAP online from Africa, just to save time, you are very welcome to do so. So I mentioned about the certificate in university studies and the diploma in university studies. So these are our specialist foundation programs. So our direct entry to get into a bachelor degrees, you need to achieve A-level equivalent of 3 principal passes. So in case you have just in case you missed the A-level equivalent by just one, you have 2 principal passes with a 1C and above, then you could start with a diploma in university studies 2 semester options that will lead you to second year of our bachelor degree. So in this context, in our diploma in university studies, you are actually in the same class as our degree students, and we help you to choose your courses that's based on your target bachelor degree studies. And for students who are very clear about what we find is for students who are very clear about their future pathways. For example, they're really clear about they wanting to do our Bachelor of Agriculture Science. They might have achieved very well at the end of their A-level exams, not O-level exams. So some of these students, they will start with our certificate in university studies with 1 semester, and then pass the certificate at A in all courses. Then they'll fast track to the 2 semester option and get direct entry into year 2 of bachelor. So essentially, there are potential for students to fast track their time if they are highly motivated students. So out of with our specialist nature, these are the list of the bachelor degrees that we offer. So we have a Bachelor of Agribusiness and Food Marketing, which is 3-year studies, and it's a combination of food science, agribusiness, supply chain management, and marketing. And this is our special. So this is quite interesting, because if you're thinking about the current global climate, that with climate change and with the continued growth of global population, food security and food safety will become more important. post-COVID. But a lot of the students, sometimes they opt for the traditional career in, say, engineering and law or psychology or medicine. Yeah, but then they may be really good at biology and chemistry, but not necessarily. But those are the traditional areas that their parents want them to do. So I will encourage this group of students with that focus, think about subjects that related to food, because if you think about the threat of the climate change to the food productions, being innovative and the urbanizations of societies, the ability to produce food and the ability to have to be able to sort out clean waters, those will be the one of the future power. Yeah, so this is our 3 years bachelor degrees. Some of our specialist bachelor degrees are 4-year studies, but typically New Zealand bachelor degrees are 3 years. What you can see here are the full list of our suites of bachelor degrees, and the bachelor degree that are highlighted in purple colors, they have compulsory practical work or industry-based project. So what it means is our students cannot go home during summer break. They will have to stay in New Zealand and do their practical work. We do expect our students to look to actually get paid, but they need to go and search for their practical work. For example, if they can't find a practical work, of course we have a practical work coordinator that will give them some advice on how to find a practical work. We also have a career services and advice from our library learning teaching team. So it is but our focus is pretty much building our students their confidence to search for it. So our culture is pretty much give it a go, try. If you are struggling, we will help you. So that's how we build our students confidence, and trust me, by the end of 3 years your students will be doing very, very well. They would be totally different, have that ability to conquer the world. So I'm not going to, so this is just an example of how a 3 years bachelor degree structure. And our academic, for Lincoln, our academic year is 2 academic semester. Each is about 16 weeks. And so in that 16 week, you will complete 4 courses. So in that includes lecture, assignments, and final exams. Yeah, so no pressures. Students do need to work hard. But so I'll come back to that in a minute. So typically our main intake is not February intake. We do have students coming from other part of the world that start their bachelor degree in July intake, but for some of our more eager students, they can start in November as well. But our November is our summer school, so it's fast track, high pressure. Yeah. So but we do have our Toastmaster programs that our students can also start in summer. Just to also say that when we talk about PhD programs, they can start any month as long as we have a mutual agreement with their supervisors. I think you are next, Julian, talking about postgraduate pathways.
Okay, no, thanks, Annie. Yeah, so I'm just going to give you just a brief overview of our postgraduate portfolio. And just here from the diagram, you can kind of see the levels of postgraduate programs that we have on offer. So once you've completed the bachelor degree, we could then offer a graduate diploma over 2 semesters. Then I will go into the mention about the postgraduate diploma will be the next level up, as again a 2-semester program. I'm not talking about certificates in this case because students that will be coming for a postgraduate program will probably be looking for post-study work rights when they finish their study. If they study a certificate program, even at postgraduate level, they will not qualify for post-study work rights. Post-study work rights, they need to study for a minimum of 2 semesters, and our certificate programs are just 1 semester. So we have a postgraduate diploma, and then, which is fairly new, probably the last 7 or 8 years, is our taught masters portfolio, which is a range of coursework masters delivered over 3 semesters. And then we go into our research masters, which is a 2-year program, first year courses, second year research. And normally the research masters is the traditional pathway into the PhD. If a student has done a taught masters, there may be a requirement for some sort of dissertation to be done before they can get acceptance into the PhD. Our PhD is a 3-year research-based PhD, but in all honesty, a lot of our science students, it can take up to 4 years, depending on their experiments, whether there's delays, etc. So here, again, this table just sort of summarizes the levels there at our postgraduate offering, from graduate diploma through to our research degree. And on the very right-hand column there, I think, which is quite important so you understand. So anyone who finishes a bachelor degree, what we will be looking for is we're looking at their academic transcript, and we are looking at the type of GPA that they have achieved in the final year of their bachelor. So for graduate diploma, we're basically looking for a pass from their bachelor degree. For a postgraduate diploma, we're looking for around about what we call a B-, which is around about 65% up to about 69%. It can vary a little bit depending, but we're looking for either equivalent of a B- from the foreign university or around that 65% mark. And for a master's degree, whether it be for research or for taught masters, we're looking for a B average. And what we see as a B average is around about 70% or plus. I think that is okay there, Annie. And then it's just a list of our taught masters, because I think in the postgraduate space, apart from PhD, I think the taught masters will be the most attractive, because it's a similar entry requirement to the postgraduate diploma, yet the masters is an extra semester, and it is probably a lot more attractive in terms of employers and holding a master's degree. So just looking through the different types of taught masters that we have on offer there. Our Masters of Business and Finance and our Masters of Business and Global Management, they do not require a similar academic background in their bachelor degree. So they could be coming from a science bachelor degree or nursing or somewhere along the lines of that. Then they could still apply and get direct entry into our Masters of Business programs. What we'll be looking at is their academic transcript, and again we will be looking at their GPA from the final year of their bachelor degree. I think also, which would be a popular taught masters program for this region, would probably be the Masters of Management and Agribusiness. I mean, New Zealand is very much a food producing nation and an exporter of food, and that is really what the economy is based on. And I know a lot of African countries is still very much of food production is very important, and export and trade. So I would say that with agribusiness is very much will be attractive, and it's something that we believe we're quite strong in, and a lot of the successful New Zealand businesses are basically agribusiness businesses. So again, it's still a good qualification to get into if you're still looking for post-study employment in New Zealand. And over onto the right hand side, we have a Masters of Professional Accounting. Now in New Zealand, this is what I would believe is the only true Masters of Professional Accounting in New Zealand. It's endorsed by CPA Australia. And we've embedded the professional accounting examinations from CPA into our program. No other New Zealand university offering a professional accounting program has embedded the professional bodies examinations into the program itself. So I think this is quite a comprehensive. There's an expectation of a recognised accounting degree to get into this program. And just moving along, I think also the Masters of Science and Food Innovation, and also the is proving quite popular, and I think there's also good job prospects on completion of this program. And Masters of Tourism Management, and finally Masters of Wine and Viticulture. I think firstly tourism, we have the oldest school of tourism in New Zealand with the New Zealand universities, very much an established program, and New Zealand is well known for its tourism, and I know a lot of countries are looking to expand their tourism capability. So we always get a lot of interest from international students in terms of studying tourism. And also, which is fairly new, is the Masters of Wine and Viticulture, which is just an extension of our bachelor program. And I think this is a really interesting program as well, with the expectation though that students would have some sort of background in viticulture and wine, or through an undergraduate degree or work experience. We're also looking at just getting approval of a Masters of FinTech, in investment and investment management, and we're hoping that approval for that program will be coming through for delivery for next year. But it has a similar first semester of study to the Master of Business, and I think they do very similar courses. So for these programs here, we do have some merit scholarships. If we could move on to the next page, Annie, I think. Yep. So with the merit scholarships, we have two levels of merit scholarships, one to the value of 7,000 and one to the value of 10,000. And you can see the programs have been divided, and you can see which one applies to which. Now, basically, how do they apply for these scholarships? So when someone applies for the Taught Masters program and puts in an application, they are assessed for entry, but at the same time they are assessed to see whether they qualify for a Taught Masters scholarship. If they qualify for the scholarship, then that will be indicated on their conditional offer of place. So what we are looking for to qualify, it's a B for entry to the program, or a B plus equivalent GPA in the final year of your bachelor degree to qualify for entry and scholarship. So you can see there we've split it up. More the science programs qualify for up to 7,000, and more the sort of the business tourism type programs qualify for $10,000. Yep. And I think last but not least, and I think which is one that most of you guys would be quite interested to hear about, is about our PhD, our doctorate program. So as I said, it's a 3-year program of research, no coursework, but students can attend some master's classes in order to upskill in certain areas if they wish to. Students pay a domestic fee, so this is quite unique. So they will pay a domestic fee, which is equivalent to about 7,500 New Zealand dollars. And also, being a PhD student, $2,000 of that fee they will receive back as part of a research stipend for them to help them conduct their research towards their PhD. Students will, though, require a research master's as an entry qualification, and a research master's really with about 6 months of research within that research master's, 6 months minimum. I mean, we are probably similar to the British system of the 2-year research masters, very similar. So even though you'll probably see on our website, we don't have like named PhDs, but you can do a PhD in any of the areas of that we offer basically through our bachelor through to our master's programs, and we've just listed there the areas of study like agriculture, applied computing, environmental policy and management, landscape architecture, tourism, wine, environmental sciences, and of course the commerce type courses like the agribusiness, marketing, supply chain, all the standard types of business majors that you would find within a typical commerce degree. So what we're looking for entry requirements into a PhD is we're really looking for that sort of B plus from the research masters. I would say that we would look to qualify students in terms of their GPA, in terms of their research, and then we would encourage them to apply, and then really the students need to find a supervisor. If they go out and find a supervisor and get acknowledgement from a supervisor who's willing to supervise them and relay that message back to our admissions team, then the offer can come out a lot faster. But normally for a PhD, you're probably looking at 1 to 3 months to get a conditional offer. It just really depends on the luck of securing that supervisor, either quickly or not quickly, but we can give very much a heads up on what potential supervision and what type of areas is available. And with the PhD, just like the taught masters, the research masters, the postgraduate diploma, and a bachelor degree, they all qualify for a 3-year post-study work rights visa once they graduate. Okay, I think that's kind of covered that, and I'm sure you might have some questions about these programs later, but I'm just to hand you back to Annie, and we're just going to just quickly summarize a few things just to finish up.
So just to give you an idea about the tuition fees, so these are all listed in New Zealand dollars. So as we know that international students, they pay for what we call they are full fee payings. So your students do need to budget approximately between 29,700 to about 33,000 a year to cover their tuition fees per year. They should also budget another approximately 18 to 20,000 New Zealand dollars a year to cover their living expenses. That includes accommodation, general living expenses. Yeah. So our we do have some partial scholarships. So they range between 3,000 to 10,000 New Zealand dollars for undergraduate program, but the top master is between 7,000 to 10,000 New Zealand dollars for the scholarships, which Julian has previously explained. Medical insurance is compulsory as part of the student visa requirements, so students do need to budget for that. There is also a student services fee, which is another compulsory fee. So just to have a quick summary about the scholarships, these are so we have the undergraduate level, we have a school leaver scholarships that's designed for students who just completed high school, meets direct entry into bachelor degrees, both in English language and academic requirements. For students who don't meet those requirements, they can also apply for a range between from our pathway merit scholarship, undergraduate scholarship to vice chancellor scholarships between 2,500 to up to 5,000 New Zealand dollars value. Students who don't meet the academic requirements for an academic program, but do not meet the direct entry of the English language requirements, they can come and study our English for academic purpose. And we have a 12 weeks English for further study or work for students. Essentially what it means is they might enroll for 12 weeks EAP. They'll pay for the fees and the first, and when they pass the EAP and move on to the next academic level program, they will get the fees rebated towards their next academic programs. So it is actually quite a good program. Just a couple of other things I want to mention. It's the student work rights. So as an international student, the current work rights is they can work part-time 20 hours a week, full-time during holidays, and the minimum pay in New Zealand is 20 New Zealand dollars per hour before tax. And Julian mentioned about the post-study work rights. So students who completed a bachelor degree and above qualification, the current immigration policy allows them to apply for up to 3 years post-study work visas. The only exception is the 1-year graduate diploma. Students will only be able to apply for the 1-year post-study work visa. So because of the current COVID situation, we do have students starting their academic study from offshore, including PhD studies. So we suggest students that they could they can apply, they can start that process, but we do need to make sure that they have enough time to or we need to allow them to have enough time to spend in that 1 academic year in New Zealand so that they can meet the post-study work visa requirement if that's what they want to do. And we can help you to plan for the student's plan. Yeah. I know that people will be wondering about COVID situation. So this is the information of as for New Zealand COVID-19. Currently, we are in what we call COVID alert level 2. So Julian and I are doing a hybrid of working from home and also working in the office. The university is open for business, but there is a social distancing limitation, and inside a class we can't have more than 50 students. So our teaching delivery is a combination of Moodle, but also we give the students an option to whether they want to come on campus or whether they want to zoom in and do it study from home, for example. So obviously the situation changed. You're very well. That's where you get the source of truth. The other thing that people might be interested in that is about 66.8% of the New Zealand population who are eligible to get the vaccination have vaccinated for at least 1 dose. So we have slowly making good progress. The other thing is because of COVID, our borders have been closed since March last year. And right now, no new student visas from offshore are being processed to currently being suspended to the 6th of February 2022. So our students who went home for Christmas at the end of 2019, some of them were stuck at home and not able to travel back to New Zealand. Some of them could come back under what we call border exception returning students cohort. So there are 1,250 international returning students that have been approved to return. They do need to come back and have a 2 weeks what we call managed isolation, stay in the managed isolation facilities, get tested negative of COVID tests before they can return to the university. So there have been discussion around how New Zealand can reconnect with the world. And there have been some kind of overview planned, but unfortunately with the recent Delta outbreak, the actual details have yet to be announced. We think that there will be a little bit of restrictions of international travel may still be in place in the first quarter, as the current student visas process or temporary visa process are still being suspended to 6th of February. But watch the space. I think once we get through the current Delta outbreak, there will be updated information soon. I'm sorry I've been talking too much, but I thought that this might be some of the information that you are interested in. So right now, our students for Lincoln has been back to campus on the 13th of September, and our on-campus facilities have been open as business as usual with the contact tracing and also follow the COVID health control measures. One thing that I do want to say is that all international students and their family in New Zealand, they can get free COVID-19 vaccines. There is no charge. We encourage students to get vaccinated as quickly as possible, so that I think that you will give their family at home the peace of mind, but we also know that they are safe. So, Julian, should I pay this or should I stop? Maybe I'll stop for now. Ikana, I'm just going to hand it over back to you. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Annie. Thank you so much, Gillian. What a wonderful presentation. We've got a couple of questions already, some sent directly to me, others in the Q&A section. So we're just gonna take them. I can see Gillian has answered some of them already, but just to give everybody the opportunity to perhaps hear the kind of questions and learn from it, I will just take them over again. And so, Gillian, if you don't mind, trying to give us a little bit of explanation. So one of the questions is, what is the student visa approval rates, for New Zealand as well as for Lincoln University?
Well, this is a hard one, because if we're talking about solely Africa, it's a little bit of an unknown, because I don't know if the agents are probably aware that there's not many New Zealand universities working in the African market. So there's little there's not a lot of history to go by, but normally the New Zealand universities and other markets have very high approval rates. We have quite a good relationship with Immigration New Zealand. We have a manager within Immigration New Zealand who manages the university relationship. So if we've got any concerns about certain things that are going on or trends or anything, then we let immigration know. I think too is that as long as we train well in terms of making sure that the right documentation is presented to immigration, and we pre-screen them before the visas are applied for, then we'll know whether the visa's likely to be approved or not. So I don't really have a specific answer, but if you're dealing with a New Zealand university, it's normally the higher level of education. So normally immigration don't look too badly on us and thinking, okay, the student is looking to study at a higher level, of education. If they're studying at a private institution, diploma or something like that, they're more likely to dig deeper. So it doesn't raise too much concerns, but also the documentation of the student is most important. And to make sure that is correct in the application forms filled out correctly, and all the checks and balances have been done before submission. Sorry.
That's really well said and soothing to know that Lincoln is a public university, and that alone just gives students a better chance. With obviously looking at other documents being in place, and they will have a very good shot at the visa. Okay. Another question who Olushola was trying to make inquiry regarding one of our students who's already in 400 level. And definitely, we have to see the transcripts, before, we can have any concrete, confirmations or discussions as to his eligibility. So I think that's well answered by Gillian. A very frequent question I've also received today is, what's the class of degree? You mentioned 2-1. Is there any chance for students to have a 2-2? In Africa, we have, the 5.0 CGPA, range. So a couple of students have the 2-2, that is second class lower, which is a little bit, more like a B minus, C, thereabout. So what's the acceptance rate for that?
I think a 2-1 is kind of the common acceptance. It just depends on, maybe and also what we're still learning is about the if there are categories of universities within countries. So you could say, oh, this is the best university in the country, so therefore a 2-2 is equivalent to a 2-1 from this university. So we're still much in a learning phase there, but I think traditionally it's been a 2-1. We're looking, as I said, if you're looking at a master's degree, entry, we're looking at that sort of 75 percentile. 75%, or what we would say is a B plus average. Okay. That's the sort of language we normally talk. We don't normally talk 2-1, 2-2. Okay. It's something that we're not so common with, but I know 2-1 were more that we'd be looking for. It it would be really, yeah, I think to be more comfortable at this stage, and really probably would be recommending 2-1, because we're kind of unfamiliar with a lot of the universities out of the African region, and until our admissions team gets some more confidence and understands, and then if we learn from what other countries are doing, then maybe we may change our standards over time. But I think at the moment we'll just have to stick with a 2-1.
Perfect. Great. A question from another attendee in terms of, what options are available online. Are all the courses available online, or just a few of them?
Annie, do you want to?
Most of the what we say is that not all programs can be studied through remote learning or virtual learning, especially the science courses that require the laboratory work. But if it's undergraduate studies, they can always start with the elective courses, which can be learned through remote learning. For master studies or postgraduate courses, it will be a little bit more restricted because of one is the post-study work rights, but also if it's science-based courses, like for example, the Master of Science in Food Innovation, then we'll definitely suggest the students to wait till the borders open. But the business studies, the environmental policy, tourism management, yes, you can start some of the courses from overseas.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much, Annie. Another question from one of our Ugandan agents, a little bit of a concern because there's no New Zealand embassy in Uganda at the moment. And he says, right now, most of the students have to go to Nairobi, to get the visas. Yeah, I don't know whether you can answer that, looking at, you from Lincoln. I don't know if you can speak to that.
Yeah, it's easy. All visas are online.
Oh, good.
So we've centralized everything online. So we've even closed down some of the offices that we had in some of the major Asian countries where we've been recruiting and working in for many years. So those offices have been shut down, and basically it's all going online. And online means that the visa will be assessed in New Zealand.
Oh, perfect. Great. So Solomon, that's it for that question. I have a personal question that was sent to me directly, and in terms of students who want to study for bachelor's or master's, are there any set study gaps? What I mean by study gaps, how long are we looking at in terms of students leaving school before they will be able to get accepted to either the third master's or research master's or even the bachelor's program?
I'm not quite catching you on that one. Do you mean if they're a high school graduate?
Yeah, perhaps a high school graduated maybe in 2012 and wants to come for a bachelor's now. Is this something that could be acceptable?
No, that's fine. It doesn't matter when they've done their education, as long as they've got the transcripts and everything like that, then we will make an assessment. If they're 50 years old and they studied 20 years ago, that's fine, as long as they've got the documentation to prove it. So
I do want to say that there is students do need to think about why they want to study. Just have a really good study plan if they have a big gap in their study and professional life. Because academically, we have no problem of assessing for admissions. It's when it comes to student visa application, they do need to explain the gap years and why they want to make the changes in their life now. So New Zealand culture is quite good in terms of listening, and if the case is presented and justifiable, then it's a case by case based on the assessments. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Another quick question in terms of the financial documents. Are they required to do that at the point of applying to Lincoln, or it's just gonna be for visa application?
It will be for visa application. Not so in New Zealand, unlike Australia or Canada or UK system, university we assess admissions So the assessments of the financial documents and all of that, that's immigration's
Okay.
job. For us, it's about academic assessments.
Perfect.
I saw a couple of questions about English language proficiency. So here I might as well talk about it. So if a student, what we are looking at is, so typically for postgraduate studies, we will have three entry requirements. One is your academic grades, which Julian discussed. Another criteria is academic relevance. And English language proficiency is the third criteria. Now, we will always be able to process an application, give conditional on, for example, students passing the final year of their bachelor degree, or students passing their final A-level results, for example, or student passing their providing their English language results. So if a students have completed a bachelor degree in English that in the last couple of years, then we will accept that as the student's English language proficiency. So what it means is the students need to provide evidence from the university to confirm that the medium of instruction is in English language. However, as Julian said, if the students completed the last study, their bachelor degree that was 10 years ago, and they've been working for the 10 years, then we will require students to provide English language proficiency either through IELTS, TOEFL, or Pearson test, or coming to study our English language for academic purpose, if that's the choice that the students want to do.
Yeah, very flexible, good options, very numerous alternatives for students, in Kenya or Nigeria, regardless of what country. But as long as the language of instruction is English, getting a letter or a note from the university stating that, or perhaps if that's not possible, writing the IELTS, PT, or TOEFL could suffice, or even coming to study, English, in New Zealand. Great. I don't know if you could speak to a little bit of the diversity in terms of, number of African students. I know Julian mentioned, the students or the lecturer in Malawi. Just let us know, the outcomes of some African students, in Lincoln University.
Yeah, we've traditionally, our African numbers have been quite small. There has been really no recruitment going on in the African region, and a lot of the students that have come have either just found us by chance, or they've come through a New Zealand government scholarship, and normally at the master's or the PhD level. So traditionally our main markets from Africa have been Nigeria and Ghana. And then it's quite a mix. So we've had students from Uganda, from Ethiopia, from Malawi, from Kenya, from all over, Botswana, all over, but in very small numbers. We might get one or two this year, we might get none next year, we get a couple the following year. It just really depends. I think we at the pre-COVID, because if we're talking students now, it's very different. So pre-COVID, we had around a student population from the African continent of around about 40 African students. Predominantly, I'd say 99% would be postgraduate. And they have quite a tight little community. We've got a number of, as I said, we've got a lecturer in farm management from Malawi, Joseph. He's really nice, really approachable. And we've got a number of academics in our commerce faculty from South Africa. So they've either lived in Zimbabwe or other places as well. So they're very familiar, and they do a lot of supervising of African students as well. So it's small, but I think on the whole, and who have we got here? Is this Annie? Yeah, this will be Annie. She's found another. Okay, in tourism management. Okay, so it's another lecturer. I think I remember hearing about him, but I don't really know. I haven't met him, I don't think. She's from Ethiopia. Yeah.
Great.
So in tourism
So
management, so they don't need to feel like, oh, they're going over to the other side of the world and they're going to be completely alone. And we're obviously pre-departure, we're more than happy to do orientations with students and give them some confidence so they know us when they arrive on the ground. We can introduce them to the smaller African community, and they can get to network and have some friends. So they kind of can learn the ropes in terms of where to find the part-time jobs and all of that sort of thing. I think one or two students get a little homesick, but believe me, within a week or two they overcome that. I mean,
yeah,
I think on the whole, Kiwis are quite friendly, quite approachable, a little bit shy though. So sometimes I say to our international students, you've really got to make that first step to connect with the Kiwi students. They're not going to bite, but they're probably more shy than you are. But if you
mhm,
make that first step and start, interacting with them, then there's a good, it's a good way to build on that. But yeah, because of our small size, I think we kind of managed to keep a good eye on our international student population on campus. And it's quite an international mix because I said before pre-COVID we're about 42% international. So we've got students from all over the world. So that they won't feel out of place. Um, and then, of course, our indigenous students as well, our Maori students, they are very interested in taking international students like under their wing. They have like what we call a traditional their little marae meeting house, where they host a lot of functions for students and that sort of thing. And it's very much a good cultural exchange. And I suppose at the end of the day, with a lot of indigenous cultures, they're not too different. And I think all of us are not too different, really, at the end of the day. We're all quite friendly and approachable. Well, that's what I'd like to think anyway. So I know it's a long way for African students to come all the way to the other side of the world, but I do know the ones that do come here, they do feel it was worth the investment, it was worth the journey.
I was on mute. Thank you so much, Gillian. Just the last two questions, just before we call it a wrap. Some agents are asking, is there a deposit, a tuition deposit prior to maybe getting the acceptance letter for the visa or something? None.
Zero.
Great.
Apply, nothing to apply. You can withdraw if you wish. Apply, be assessed for conditional offer. At any point the student wants to pull out, they just drop us an email to say, look, sorry, but the student's not wanting to study. If the student wants to defer, we can defer them to a future intake. While I've just got here, one thing I just wanted to emphasize, and I know fees are very much an issue, so that's why when we're talking about English language, sometimes the English language may play to our favor. And that's my thinking is that we can do the pathway offer, which means that they can get an offer to study English language and then go on to a master's or a PhD or whatever it may be. When they apply for a pathway offer, if they're successful, they get a visa for the duration of both programs, but they only pay the tuition for the first program. Now, the first program would therefore be English language. Now, that is the cheaper fee. So that if they're doing, say, 3 months, 4 months worth of English language, it might be 5,000-6,000 New Zealand dollars. And therefore they only need to
Okay.
pay that. And then when they can go into the masters, but they've got visa for duration of that and the following program. So when they go into the masters program, they only need to pay fees semester by semester. Okay? If
Okay.
they're coming straight into a master's program from Africa, it is likely immigration will want to see at least 1 year of tuition fee paid before they offer them the visa. If they're only paying half a year, they'll only get visa for half a year, but immigration will say a legitimate student will be paying for 1 year tuition up front. So that's a much more financial burden to the student at the beginning. So I'm saying, okay, even though their English is probably pretty good, if they do the English language first, then it's a small fee, but it gets them there, it gets them settled in the university, and then they can pay like that either that postgraduate diploma or taught masters or PhD. They can pay it semester by semester when they arrive, when they progress on. Now, can I ask Annie just a quick question? Further study awards?
I've already explained before.
Are we doing PG or?
Yeah, I've already explained before,
Okay.
Julian.
Oh, good. Well, let me just. I was probably not listening. Sorry, Annie. Just to reiterate, with the further study awards for the English language, the rebate goes on to the next program of study. So even there's a more of incentive. So do English language because you pay up front, but you're going to get that money back later.
Yep.
So that's a
Yeah,
good
makes sense.
investment. But that also is a good pathway to get you to secure the visa without having to put all that money up front.
I
Yeah.
do want to say that immigration do look at the source of income. They do wants to have they do want to know that you can afford your study for the whole length of programs. So you do need to budget enough. What Julian is saying is that, well, we understand that sometimes it's quite hard to put a lump sum payment up front. You still need to meet the student visa financial requirements because Immigration New Zealand, they will assess students visa on one is genuine intent, whether the student is a good student through police report, health. That's the kind of things that we do not have and a good study plan. So they will still be required of those evidence to show that the students are good characters.
Perfect. All right. This is well understood, and yes, I think that's enough time we have for questions at the moment. I want to thank Julian. I want to thank Annie for a wonderful presentation and a wonderful Q&A session, and the whole Africa agents that could make it to this session. We really want to say that you are awesome. And at the end of this, we'll be sending you the recording of this session and with the sample presentation slides so that you can get that as a reference. We are here in Africa to really, ensure that we help you in all your recruitment strides, to Lincoln University. And feel free to contact us at the end of this. We have your details, and we will surely be sending you the presentation slides and, send you all the other collaterals, like the brochures, and other flyers just to help, in getting those students to New Zealand. Thank you once again, and I want to wish you a very wonderful day.
No, thank you. And thanks everybody for taking the time.
Perfect. Thank you. And do enjoy the rest of the day. And for you, Annie, do have a wonderful evening. I know it's already evening or past dinner there. So we're just starting our day here. Perfect.
We're just hitting 10 p.m., but there's still one more meeting to go.
Oh my!
We're always working. We're always working here. We're always working. It's because we're the bottom of the world. Our time zone doesn't connect well with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I totally understand. All right, good luck on that, and cheers from here. Bye.
Okay. No, thank you. Thanks everyone.